And now, get ready for some sports talk with Denny Mclain.
Buddy, you're a boy, make a big noise, playing in the street, gonna be a big man someday. You got mud on your face, you big disgrace, kicking your can all over the place, singing, we will rock you.
And here's your host, Denny Mclain.
I'm Denny Mclain.
And I'm Ron Cameron. Welcome to another edition of Sports Talk. Hey, we got a lot to talk about today, Denny.
We certainly do, Ron. Thank you very much for screwing up the beginning.
No, I didn't screw up the beginning.
First of all, we're going to talk about pitching. Pitching is 99% of the game, and the Tigers, of course, along with San Francisco, have proven that. We have a new word in the English language called Sandoval, a demolition machine all by himself. Mr. Pfister, line drive in the head. I've got a great story about Denny almost getting the same thing one day, except I caught it. We turned it into a triple play. I have to go down and show Pfister how to do that. Verlander and the big show. Can he handle the big stage? He hasn't done very well with it yet.
Earlier in the playoffs, he did well.
He was doing some tweeting apparently on the bench the other day during the ball game, and had a little discussion with the pitching coach while the game was going on.
That was more comical than anything else.
You think it's comical?
Well, they were both
He'd just given up. Will you stop it? He'd given up a dinger in the Grand Canyon, for God's sake. The Lions.
Why was you laughing then?
The Lions continued. He was sad. The Lions continue to be one-dimensional, no matter what anybody thinks,
no
matter what anybody says. Bad dimension.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk a little bit about Lance Armstrong and Emmanuel Stewart, of course, just passed away. One of the great, great guys that I've ever met in my life. But first, the Tiger pitching.
What about the Tiger pitching? The Tiger pitching has been excellent. I thought Pfister had outstanding stuff. I thought that, well, not Verlander. No, not Verlander. He didn't have excellent stuff. He didn't do the job. Pfister, I thought, pitched outstanding. The question is, should they have taken him out and brought in the left Smiley? That's the thing, and that's when the run scored. It was a tough situation for Leland there. Did he handle it right in your mind?
Yes and no. I mean, listen, he gives up the quick home runs, the quick runs, and, nobody's prepared for that. If that was a different Tiger pitcher.
I'm talking about Pfister.
No, I'm talking about Verlander for a second. He gave up the run so quickly that no one could be prepared for that. Had it been another pitcher, and especially after the first home run, and everybody was hitting the ball relatively well, they would have had guys ready already, and maybe the second and certainly the third home run probably would not have happened. But, 99% of the game is still pitching, especially this time of year. Pitchers will always get good hitters out. Our two guys, Cabrera and Fielder, haven't stepped up and done their thing. And you know what I get kind of a kick out of? You listen to all of our monstrous broadcasters in this town, and nobody has criticized those two guys. But they'll criticize Jimmy Leland in a heartbeat if Jimmy Leland doesn't use Charmin, for God's sakes. So I don't get it. At times we got a one-way media in this town that is just bashing people, but they're afraid to criticize Fielder and Cabrera.
Let's talk about the Pfister incident. They took him out when a scoreless game.
Who?
Pfister.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
No, he'd given up one run.
No, the run scored after.
No, that's what I mean. But the run was his. Go ahead.
But he didn't give it up until he left. Should they have taken him out at that stage?
They knew something that we don't know.
They brought in a nervous
Smiley. Let me give you something to look for, and everybody who's going to look at the games. And by the way, we're taping Friday afternoon, so we don't know what happens Saturday. We hope they win. But you look for a pitcher to be running out of gas when his mouth opens. Verlander, even before he got his first pitch out of his right arm, his mouth was already open. I think Verlander was overdone. I mean, the meat was done. And I think he came out with a degree of emotion that just was not applicable to the moment. In other words, his adrenaline was out of control even as the game started. I really believe that. Now, when the mouth opens with any pitcher, especially a pitcher, he's looking for oxygen, always looking for oxygen. Pfister, when he left the game, had his mouth not wide open, but certainly open, looking for oxygen. That's every good manager looks for the mouth to open.
Okay, now Smiley came in. He was all over the place. He was nervous. It looked like.
Well, what is he? 11 years old?
Yeah, not 11 years old, but yeah, he's a young guy. Was that the right move, bringing him in that situation?
He did a hell of a job. He did a great job. He gave up 1 run of his own.
Yeah.
The other guy gave up. No, he didn't give up a run.
The
first run scored with him in the ball game, and then what's his name came in and gave up a home run.
Yeah, that's true. But the thing
what do you want the kid to do?
No, I'm not saying, but he was wild. He just seems like his adrenaline was so high when he came in there.
Listen, I believe adrenaline. The first time you play in a new arena, for the lack of a better term, I believe your fastball is probably 5, 6, 8 miles an hour quicker, if you believe the radar gun. I don't believe
the radar gun.
But I think that's what happens. I think you feel like you can run through a wall. I think it's like probably going into your first NFL game, and you see 2 guys that are twice as much as you, and you think you can knock them over. I think you just go crazy.
Are you talking about radar gun? I think it's 5 miles off, those radar guns.
I'm not even going to get into a debate with them because I don't think they should be in the game. They ruined Joe Zumaya.
Yeah.
Of course, the whole organization ruined
anyway,
Zumaya, and that's another show.
Yeah.
Sandoval.
No, I want to talk about, first, before we go to Sandoval, I want to talk about Pfister getting hit in the head.
We're going to get to that.
Okay, we'll talk about Sandoval.
But that's the reason we do a menu on the show every week, so we can stay within some kind of a window.
All right,
you know
go ahead.
I mean? Sandoval, we have a new word in the American National League, Sandoval. What he did the other day has only been done 1 time in 2,200 games in that ballpark. 2,200 times. And it's amazing. I mean, one of the pitches was really a good pitch. But what happens
the first one, the high tight one.
I mean, it was a real good pitch.
0-2.
And my point to this is the following. If a fastball, I don't care if he's throwing it 155 miles an hour. If the fastball doesn't move, folks, these are major league hitters, and the major league hitters are going to hit anybody's fastball at any velocity if it doesn't move. The difference between he and the kid in Washington, Strasburg has got an exploding fastball. That ball, 8 or 10 feet in front of the plate, just explodes all over the place. Great movement. Justin has the velocity, a little bit more velocity than Strasburg does, and therefore Justin has got to be at times just a little bit better with his control than Strasburg would have to have. I think Strasburg and Verlander together can probably pitch a game without ever having to throw a curveball. Plus, I think Justin really pitched backwards the other day. Too many curveballs, too many sliders, too many changeups. Listen, you're at the dance. The dance you got there with was a fastball. It's time to dance with the same girl who brought you to the dance.
I'm going to go a little bit off this and say when they took Verlander out, years ago, you'd get a guy out early because you want him to come back in 4 and then 7 to pitch games 4 and 7. Not the case here because the Tigers got good starting pitching and they're not going to bypass anybody to bring Verlander back, I don't think.
Verlander won't pitch 3 times.
No.
Unless he goes out the next time and gets his brains beat out again. That would be the only way that he could probably possibly pitch 3 times. The question is he ready? Can he pitch in the big time? I mean, this is the big time. I mean, the last time he pitched in the World Series, and I know it was only his first year, but the bottom line was he was terrible back then and made an error and all kinds of things. This time, he just didn't get it put together. Everybody was surprised. Listen, I was telling people all over the United States when they were calling me.
Win.
They were asking me, well, should we bet? I'm going to Vegas tomorrow. Should I bet on the game? I said, listen, God forbid I get a phone call next week and I'm told something else. I said, listen, bet your house, bet your kids, bet your wife. Please bet your wife. And all the other things that go into it. And you know what? I haven't got a call back yet, so maybe they didn't listen. And I kept telling everybody, I said, I'm not the best guy to judge, but if I had life and death in front of me, I'd bet everything I have on Verlander the other day.
Time's
and
up
of course,
the segment.
We'd have lost it. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I know you're anxious to talk about Pfister, so am I a little bit, so why don't you go first?
Yeah, all right, first, when he gets hit in the head with that ball, I thought he's out automatically.
Thought he was dead.
Oh, not dead, but I thought he was done. It was a glancing blow, but...
Glancing blow?
Yeah, well, that's
the
what
ball went
Leland
straight up
said.
towards center
Yeah,
field.
Leland said it was a glancing blow.
Listen, Jimmy smokes 5 or 6 packs of cigarettes a day. The only dancing blow is when he goes... That's Jimmy with his smoke.
All right, we're both surprised he stayed in. That's fantastic. Fantastic. It doesn't look like there's any after effects.
Well, I don't know if you'll know for a day or two. I know this, that...
What about you?
There's
had
a drug out there called Coumadin, I think it is, for blood thinners. I know some of the people in our audience probably know what that is. I mean, had one of us in the audience, or even me, got hit in the head taking Coumadin, I mean, something is going to be bleeding in the top of your head, and obviously they would have taken you right out of the game for an examination. I was shocked once you saw the replay and replay and replay and replay. I was in shock that he stayed in the game, and they asked him all the right questions. What's your name? Where are you? What time is it? This, that, and every other thing. Then it became a little bit of funny because he didn't like the questions.
All right.
And then, of course, he went back and pitched his butt off.
What about you? You got a big head. Did you ever get it in the head?
No. What do you mean I got a big head?
You do.
I had, we were playing Baltimore in '68, and we had a short lead at that time in the season. And I just didn't pitch very well against the Baltimore Orioles for whatever reason. On top of that, they had a pretty good club. Frank Robinson, Brooks Robinson, Boog Powell, Kurt Blefrey, Andy Etchebarren, guys like that.
Rod Hendricks?
Johnson, the manager of the Washington Senators, right, the Washington Nationals. And so I've got bases loaded, nobody out in the third or fourth inning. Boog Powell, who hit me so badly at one time, I mean, just awful. It didn't make any difference what I threw. I used to tell him what was coming just to speed the batting around. I mean, I just wanted to get it over with. Whatever he was going to do, let's do it on the first pitch. So I'd yell, Boog, fastball. And he'd hit it. I'd say, Boog, curveball. He'd hit it. And I don't care where it was, whether it was in the middle of the plate, over here, over there, up here, down here. So he comes up, Freehand comes out to the mound, and he says, Powell's coming up. I said, yeah, just a great day. Bases loaded, nobody out. And I'm just hanging on barely. I'm telling you, I've got brutal stuff at that point. And he said, how do you want to pitch him? I said, I don't want to pitch him. Let somebody else pitch him. And he said, well, here comes Mayo. Mayo comes out, and he says, how do you feel? I said, I'm okay. I said, I'm not very tired. It's only the third inning. And he said, well, I'm going to let you pitch to Boog. I said, you sure you want to do that? He says, yeah. He says, come on. He says, we're only 2 or 3 down at the time. And third inning. So Mayo goes back to the dugout, and I didn't yell at Boog this time. I didn't tell him what was coming. But I threw a fastball that was supposed to be up here someplace. And that was my problem with Boog. I always tried to make a good pitch, down and away or up and in, wherever it was. And the ball hung out over the plate. The ball, I mean, he hit a monster shot and a half. And the line drive didn't go to my head, but it went to another part of my body. And I caught the ball, turned around, threw to second base to Ray Euler, and Euler threw it to first to Norm Cash for a triple play. And, of course, I had to shake my leg because I had stuff running down my leg. That's how scared I was. But that's what I'm talking about. The difference is catching the ball. So I'm going to go down to the ballpark, I think, in the next day or two and show Pfister what you're supposed to do when a line drive comes at you.
He's a good athlete, Pfister.
Well, he's not as quick as I was.
I was.
Excuse me.
Was. Okay. Maybe he was. Okay.
Excuse me.
All right.
Right? Now, listen, one other thing bothers me about the Pfister performance the other day. Tim McCarver, who was a legend, folks, in his own mind. I mean, Tim McCarver is so full of taffy that he makes me nauseous to listen to him at times. He says the other night that Pfister has the most violent delivery he's ever seen in Major League Baseball.
That's not a violent delivery.
He's not violent in any form. He has a nice, for a guy 6'10", he's got a great windup. He could be 8 foot for all I know. And I'm telling you, he's so compact. He's got a major league windup. You watch him the next time you see him on television, and you'll know what I mean. He's compact. He's slow. Yeah. By the way, a good pitcher, his head never moves. Now, compare that to Max Scherzer. Yeah. Scherzer is a car crash.
Violent.
And I don't know how he gets anybody out, because just watch how he lands all the time. He's sometimes over here, sometimes he's over here, and when he throws a breaking ball, God only knows where it's going. I mean, I think Scherzer is one of those guys. We had a guy here by the name of Joe Sparma years ago. Joe had the greatest stuff you can imagine.
Couldn't throw strikes.
But he couldn't throw strikes. And every once in a while, when he got real wild, he'd hit guys, in the leg, in the back, in the head, wherever he could find somebody. And Scherzer reminds me of Sparma, except his ball moves a little bit better than Joe's did. But the thing with Scherzer, he's just wild enough to be good. Now, I would like to see him pitch deeper into the ball games. This 5 1/3 doesn't get it with me, nor does it get it with a lot of guys that have played the game. But if you can strike out 10 and 5 1/3 innings, 5 2/3, you got to keep throwing them out there. I only hope that he is prepared for this stage when he gets to pitch this time.
Back to the World Series, your prediction went right down the tubes. You had the Tigers in 5, and I had Giants in 7.
Actually, I had the Tigers in 4, but you never pull for a Detroit team.
I know I do pull for them. I want the Tigers to win. I'm just not a homer, that's all.
No, you're not a home fan.
No, I'm not here to be a home fan.
You have never been a home fan.
I'm not a homer. No, I'm not a homer. I tell it like it is.
Doesn't you don't have to be a homer to pull for the club.
I want the team to win. No, I want the team to win.
Cross your heart, hope to die. I think you're fibbing me.
No, I'm not fibbing you.
Oh, I think you are. One of the other things during this game, by the way, was Justin Verlander was sending out tweets. Apparently, maybe he had them set up before the game started. And I still would like to know if, in fact, it was done in humor when Jones, the pitching coach, walked out there.
It seemed to be.
I hope so, because I believe, and this is not a braggadocious statement by any stretch, a day or two before this happened, Terry Foster did a column on me and was talking about our manager, Mayo Smith, trying to take the ball from me one night in a night game in Boston, and I wouldn't give him the ball. I just wouldn't give him the damn ball. And I said to him, listen, I'm not giving you the ball. You might as well leave. All Mayo really had to do was ask the umpire for a new ball, and I was out of there. Lo and behold, Mayo turned around and walked back to home plate. We got out of the inning. But that's what I was thinking about. I'm thinking, God, is he trying to copy my act? I don't like that. You gotta sign off. It's copywritten, you know? We shall be back with a whole lot more in a few minutes. Our Lions, they're in a one-dimensional atmosphere somewhere. It continues to be Stafford to Johnson and hope for the best. I mean, he didn't even catch a pass last week until the second half.
Caught one in the first half.
You know, what is going on?
The offense is instead. It seems like the Lions' offense plays well when they're desperate. Now the Bears got great defense. You can't go wide open in the Bears. They turn the turnovers into points. Now the team they're facing this week, Seattle, is as good a defense, but they don't have as many turnovers on the opposition. The Lions' offense, they were 6 of the first 7 times they were 3 and out. This offense is too good for that. They shouldn't be like that.
So what do you do?
They got to do a little more desperate in the beginning of the game.
What do you do?
Desperate in the beginning of the game.
Like what?
Like you're behind, not when you're just safety first.
But it's tough to walk into a game and expect to be behind mentally, emotionally, in any form. Listen, we got a quarterback that I'm telling you could pitch in the big leagues. That's how well he throws the football.
But then he
I
goes
really
sidearm.
believe
This
it.
is what messes him up.
Doesn't make any difference sidearm. When he gets the ball to him, he does a pretty
ball's
good job
sailing
with the
on
ball.
him 'cause he's
The
doing
kid can
sidearm
throw
too
the
much.
ball.
Yes,
You
he can.
cannot overlook the talent. Listen to me
No
for a
question.
second. And the other guy, the big guy, Johnson,
Yeah.
he's the best I've ever seen. I mean, he is just an unbelievable player. But you mentioned the defense of the Bears. You know what? The Lions, I think, only gave up, 13 points too? 16 points?
Their offense was
That's
awful,
pretty,
the Bears.
but it's pretty good defense.
Well, the Lions did play good defense in that game.
Yeah, I mean, if they hold somebody under 20 points, that's a hell of a Sunday. We should win all of those
But
games.
the turnovers, remember what I said last week? Don't turn the ball over. You can beat the Bears and get inside. Cutler said they got inside Cutler's head, but they turned the ball over 5 times. You can't win in this league doing that.
You know, Cutler's a great mystery to me.
He is a mystery.
I figured that as healthy as he is this year, and as well as he throws the ball too, and now he's got a couple of guys that can really catch the
Marshall
ball.
and Jeffries, yeah.
Marshall is unbelievable. Almost as good as our guy Johnson. But here's the thing that gets me with Cutler. He gets a lot of time back there, and he's probably maybe the best quarterback in the league at moving the pocket from side to side. What I don't understand is why the Bears don't do more of that. I mean, they've got such a solid
and they
defense.
got a great Forte and Bush as a backup running back. The running attack is good.
And see, that's the thing we miss here in Detroit. We don't have a running back.
Yeah.
I mean, if we ever got what's his name back,
I don't think he's coming back.
I don't
Denny.
either.
I think his career's over.
Oh, God forbid his career's over.
Well,
but
I
think he's done again this year. I don't think there's any question. And what's really sad is, like we've talked about before, he's got such a great character. He's such an honorable guy. He wants to play. He tells them every day he wants to play. But if you can't get a clearance, that puts the Lions on the hook for a lot of liability, and that would be wrong to throw him out there if he's not well.
The Lions are toast. They're not going to make the playoffs.
How can you say they're
toast? They're toast.
They have 10 games to play.
They're done. Look who's in the division. Green Bay and Chicago. They're not going anywhere. Minnesota's picked up too. They might not get in third place. They may finish in last place this year.
Well, listen, if
they're toast, Denny.
Like I've always said, if you don't qualify for the playoffs in the NFL, what difference does it make where you finish? Because the ballparks are all sold out anyway. Yeah. They sell a lot of tickets, hot dogs, and all the other stuff. I don't think the ownership cares once they get out of contention.
Let's go to this game against Seattle. They got a rookie quarterback who's done okay, but he doesn't do well on the road. The Tigers are coming home. Stafford's only throwing 1 touchdown pass this year at home.
Oh my God!
So you got some problems, Denny. This is a tough game. I usually call the games pretty good. This is a tough game to call. I'm picking the Lions because they're home, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if the Bears just. not the Bears. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose the game because Seattle's defense is strong as heck, and they got a heck of a running back. If they control the clock, the Lions are in trouble.
You see what I mean? He is anti-Detroit.
I'm not anti. I'm just telling like it is.
Anti-Detroit.
I picked the Lions to win.
The Lions will blow them out. Seattle has never done well in this ballpark when they've had it come from the West Coast. It just doesn't happen. We shall be back with more and questions.
No way. They may win the game, but they're not going to blow them out.
Keep it up.
Seattle, the defense is too good to blow out. You're not going to blow out Seattle.
If you keep it up, I'm going to throw one of these balls at you. I haven't thrown a ball in 40
I know, and
years.
your arm's not ready to do it either.
We'll be back right after this with questions from our audience. Hi, this week we're going to take questions from our audience. And by the way, you're all welcome to come on down here on Friday afternoons about 3 o'clock to WADL and participate with the audience. We'll even feed you, give you something to drink, and have a good time.
Be here quick, or Denny will eat all the food, so be here quick.
Our first question guy. Who are you and where are you from?
Donald Gulledge from Warren.
And move up a little bit, Don.
All right.
What's the question?
I was wondering, do you believe that superstitions got a lot to do with the ball game because the way we're having the bad luck with a couple calls this week?
No, I don't think anybody can blame the umpires. I think the umpires are pretty good. The thing that upset Verlander the other day, he wasn't getting that pitch off the plate at all anymore that he gets sometimes. I say I don't believe in superstitions, but then I never stepped on a foul line in my life. I never stepped on the edge of the mound when I walked away from the mound.
Sparky was like that
I
too.
kicked and I'm not superstitious, and I kicked rosin bags off the mound, but no, I'm not superstitious. Yes, sir. What's your name and where are you from?
I'm Richard Jackson, and I'm from Huntington Woods.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems to me that the Lions have really done badly year in and year out, decade in, decade out. Is there some underlying reason as to why this is?
Well, look at the ownership.
Go ahead.
Bill Ford owns this team. Bill Ford's a great man, but he has not known how to build a winner because he's too loyal to his people, number one, and he doesn't know who to hire, number two, and that's killed him. They've won one playoff game since 1957, and you had three, folks, championships in 1950, and now you've won one playoff game since then?
Real quick, I think it's a management thing. I think it's always been a management thing, and until they clear that up, whatever it is, in the management office, I don't think they'll be big winners. Yes, sir, your name?
My name is Terrence Villeneuve. I'm from Detroit.
Detroit, all right.
Yeah, I was wondering, what would you guys think the Game 3 projections would be for the Tigers?
Well, I'm still on their train. I still think they're going to win. Listen, if the two guys, if Cabrera and Fielder don't bust out at where they are, they got problems. I mean, I don't care how well Fister pitches and anybody else pitches on the club, including Verlander. Guys, you can't win without runs no matter what happens. And unfortunately, if those two guys don't crack it, they're dead. Yes, ma'am.
Here's the interesting thing about that, Denny, as well. At the start of the series, the Tigers had all their pitchers lined up. The Giants didn't. They were throwing their fourth starter, and they had Verlander. That's an automatic win. So now the Giants got their staff all set, and the Tigers are going back to their third, fourth starters. So I think the Tigers' offense they're going to have a big game.
You're
one of these games
so
at home.
full of useless
No, I'm
information.
not either. That's
Go
very
ahead,
useful.
young lady.
Very useful.
Your name?
Kayla.
Hi, Kayla.
Hi. What is your overall opinion of the Tigers?
Overall opinion of the Tigers? I think that they caught all the breaks in the world this year. They play in the worst division in baseball.
Look at the pitching.
I think also that that's the reason why our pitching appears to be so good at times, because we are not playing, or not so good at times now because we are not playing Cleveland. We're not playing Minnesota. We're not playing, who am I missing? Kansas City. There's 4 teams we aren't playing, and that makes all the difference in the world.
That's why the hitters aren't doing that well, too.
We're playing a real major league team right now.
Major league pitchers.
Absolutely.
Not
we
ERAs.
really are.
The Tigers had about 50 games with ERAs above 5 for the starters.
Oh, I know that.
They're facing. That's ridiculous.
I know that. One last question, young lady. Your name?
Ellen Hanna.
Hi,
I'm
Ellen.
from Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis?
Oh,
Memphis,
You
Tennessee.
were in Memphis?
I was
You were
living.
in Memphis?
I love
Yeah.
Memphis. I love the barbecue.
What's it going to take for the Tigers to come back now that they're down 0-2?
I don't want to make this oversimplistic, but they just got to score some runs. That's all there is. If they could score a couple, 2-3 runs in the first inning, they are off to the races. If they don't, I'm sorry, we may not go back to San Francisco. Now, before we sign off of this show, We lost a good friend this past week, Emmanuel Stewart, and just one of the class acts in the city of Detroit, always promoting the city of Detroit. One of the kindest men you'll ever meet, and we lost him. One of the greatest boxing promoters of all time.
Let me tell you, he was on my show 2 months ago. I do my show. You can listen this afternoon, 2 to 4 p.m. on 11:30 a.m. WDFN. He was on my show 2 months ago. After the hour interview, he stayed and talked to me for another hour. He said, "Ron, I want to come back on your show." And I said, "Why is that?" "I'm thinking of running for mayor."
Emmanuel said that he wanted to run for mayor? Well,
That was not a good
glad
decision
that he's
there.
gone, but I am glad that he didn't try to run for mayor. He really was a class act. I had so many laughs with him, and
40
I
plus
met
years.
so many of his fighters.
40 years, Denny.
He was and did a ton for this city, charity-wise. Did a ton. Well, we thank everybody for being here today.
Yes.
We thank our audience for being here. We really enjoyed it. We thank you for watching, and we shall see you next week.
Bye-bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.